Over the next few weeks, I am going to be bringing you some very focused videos and interviews on how to do and best succeed in licensing your music to TV, films, ads, games, a little something we call sync or sync licensing. But that's right, the word is do. This is the part everyone wants to know, but nobody wants to do. Does my do offend you? You have to do a certain number of things every week, every day, really, if your goal is to live the dream of writing music all day, getting big fat PRO checks every quarter, free to do whatever you like, make music income, and pursue a life of religious fulfillment. In today's podcast, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. And if you've ever put a cat in a bag, you know just how dangerous that can be. I'm going to tell you what I do to get the interest of music libraries and then why they take music albums from me and my partners and my clients, which gets the songs from those albums into TV and film and advertising placements that brings income in several different ways, including a quarterly check, like I'll get this month from BMI, which is my PRO and performance rights organization. Now, you might not be able to be me, and believe me, that is likely a blessing, but you can find your place doing what I do. It could be emulating what I do as a daily composer, arranger, and producer. Good luck with that. Or my tenaciousness in how hard I work to find new libraries, colleagues, partners, clients, players. Good luck with that one too. It could be working with me to get all of the things I just talked about. All the things I'm going to describe in the podcast are things I offer as a producer and consultant to co-write with you, to co-produce with you, and co-achieve the dreams of sync that you have and I have. That's right. I don't just make videos all day. Well, it depends on the day, probably. No, what I do is compose, arrange, produce, pitch, deliver, and build new relationships so I can do it all over again every day. Now, that might sound exhausting to you. In that case, you might need me to be the person who does that for and with you. But today, let's talk about how to do and how I do sync licensing, how I am building it to be a long tail of music income that I hope, and seeing how others have done this, is going to be my main income in a few years, and how you can do sync licensing too. Before we get started, let me tell you who is sponsoring this. You're never going to believe it. You'll never believe this in 1,000 years, who the sponsor is. It's me. I want to talk about my Getting in Sync course. You can find that right at makemusicincome.com. If you go there, and then it will take you eventually to this course, and you can find out how I got my music on TV and how you can too. And how when I found out about sync licensing and that people were making music income like this, and now that I know actually what they're making, dang, this is what I wanted to do. And I started a systematic plan based on my production from before, what I was doing in Nashville as a producer for other people. I've brought other people along with me. I have partners and I have players and I have lots of people who do this with me, and it worked. So if you want to find out more about this course, the Getting in Sync course, you can just go down below in the description or go to makemusicincome.com. You'll find your way. I know you will. I believe in you. All right. I also want to talk about and can't not talk about our Positive Spin Partners program. In the beginning, I talked about if you're someone who is like, oh yes, I really want to get into this. I'm searching for a way to get into music licensing. I just don't know if I can do it myself. I can make music. I can make pretty good music. I'm a great artist. I'm a great player, but I know nothing about getting it in there, and I'm not even going to take the time to do it. Well, the Positive Spin Partners program is a program where I produce you. It's like having a producer, but for much less than you'd pay for a producer. For the price of one song that I produce for people. People can be part of this program for months. So if you've been looking for a producer or someone to help you kind of take your music to the next level, that's what this program's all about. As well as getting music in tons of television programs. We're getting about 2 albums finished a week. We've had over 250 songs signed. Here, I'll show you. Every week we have something called the Weekly Spin Up. And in the Weekly Spin Up, we talk about different things. We have a welcome. We give congrats to members who have done great things. We talk about tracking in Nashville, which we do every month, and that is just something that we offer some artists. So if you're an artist and you need to track, we talk about the projects we worked on last week and got done. We talk about what we're going to be focusing on this week. And then we just talk about all the albums that we are doing and where I need help with those and how you can get involved in those. And then we talk about all the albums that are currently accepted and requested by the libraries we work with and what we need to get done and finish up. And then we have all the songs that have been accepted this year so far, 250 songs into libraries. These aren't songs that albums we've made. 250 songs have been into libraries, and we're working currently on 235 more songs. So it's something that I do that not many other people are doing, if anyone is doing anything like this. Check out the Positive Spin Partners program. You can find a link below, or just go right here, and see all about it. Well, today, folks, what I want to talk about is my secrets to sync. And as my friend Marcus would say, secrets. He calls them his secrets. But these are my secrets to success, and I've got 5 of them that I want to go over today. And basically, this is how I have found that I stand out, how I have found that is what makes me different in order to get accepted into libraries and get music into television and film. What I think is job 1 and what is job 2, and what I can't teach you that you need to know. So let's get to that right now. Let's just jump right in. First thing I want to talk about is separation. How to stand out in sync. Now, I have a very simple way I do this. I use real instruments. I work with players in Nashville. I work with my partners in my Positive Spin Partners program. I think that playing with others and using real instruments and then working with others are the big keys here. You'll hear this in interviews. You hear this from libraries. One of the first things that they say when they listen to my music is the quality and the real players is the thing that we like, that we want, that perks our ears up when we hear that. So if you play a real instrument, a lot of people think about licensing or making music and sending it out or putting it online or doing whatever as just, let me just open up a DAW like Logic or something like that, or Ableton or Fruity Loops, and I'll just make a beat and I'll throw it up to a library. They've got to love it because I made it. Well, no, sorry. That's not really what they're looking for, because everybody can basically do that. Just about anybody can open up a Logic session, call up a couple of instruments that play together, and call themselves a songwriter. That's not what we're talking about. Where you'll have more success is taking all those years you've put into playing your guitar or playing keyboards or orchestrating or making beats or whatever it is, and then bringing in some real instruments, bringing in some other people. That's right. Other people besides you can make music. You don't have to make it by yourself in your basement. And this is something I think that people are trying to figure out how and why I'm having success or someone else is having success. And they're wondering, how are you doing this? Well, I'm doing it because I play with others. I work with others. And there's just a special dimension when you bring someone else into a project. And I really believe in it. I think it's the secret to my success. And that's why it's number 1 here. It's the first thing we're talking about. I think that's what separates me from and my partners, because we're working on things together and adding in both, or sometimes 3 or 4 of us into a song that's making this this thing that is not something that people normally get. It's a secret, but it shouldn't be a secret. It's never been a secret before. I mean, it was never a secret that we have to just create by ourselves. No one even thought about that before computers. We got together with other humans and we made music. And I think that has found itself lost in the day of the DAW, where anybody can open up a laptop, get a beat going, and add a few things and call it done. Just because you hear a cue is another thing that we call a song instrumental, or a song that might get into a TV show or something through a library or through another means. Just because you hear something that is really simple doesn't give you the express right to just create super simple music. I mean, there's a place for super simple music, but a lot of times people hear a beat of some kind that they hear that got placed and they go, oh, I can make that. And then they just make a 2-minute loop. And I think you've got to do more than that. You've got to provide more dimension. You got to bring something in every 8 bars. We're not going to go into how to create a great cue or anything like that, but you've just got to provide dimension. I think the two things that really bring dimension are real instruments, real things that you play. Do I have one? Yes, I do. I have one within striking distance, a kalimba. And I have a tambourine, and I have shakers, and I have other things. And just putting those in songs, especially MIDI stuff, just brings a sense of dimension and difference. Or if you're a guitar player, I also am working with a cellist. I'm working with a lady who does Celtic harp and penny whistle. I'm working with a grandmaster. Is there such a thing as a grandmaster hammered dulcimer player? If there is, I'm working with them. This is the kind of thing that I think makes you stand out, to record these things, to bring these things out. And if you don't have real instruments, and maybe quality real instrument samples is something you should look at, because that is also very important. But I really do think that if you want to separate yourself, the way to stand out in sync is to make sure that you are working with other humans, that you are playing real instruments. That's my first secret, and it's been the secret to my success from the very beginning, from my first signed stuff. It's really been what has made the difference. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is uniqueness. What makes you different? Why are you different? Why are you different than anyone who is doing this anywhere, or me, or anyone else? And I think this starts with probably a unique instrument or focus. Now, some of you may not play an instrument, but you are very talented in beat making, or you are very talented in orchestrating, or whatever. The DAW itself might be your unique instrument, and that is fine. But do you have a unique instrument? You heard me talk about cello. You heard me talk about Celtic harp. You heard me talk about hammered dulcimer. Those are very unique things. And I have had, we have done at least 10 cello records in the past year. And libraries just love them because they are mostly cello. There's a realness to it. There is a quality of sound that just comes from a real player playing a real wooden instrument, doing lots of different articulations and things like that. And those albums have are going to be doing very well. I just know that they're already, we saw some pitches the other day for some of them. And I think Alida, who is my cellist, or one of the cellists I work with, she just does so much amazing type of stuff. And I think she's going to start to see, I mean, folks, we're talking about 100 songs, and we'll talk about quantity here in a little bit. But what makes her different is that she's a cellist. And there's a danger when you're a master cellist or a master hammered dulcimer player in trying to get involved in other things. So if you're a great player, guitar player, or a great piano player, a great saxophone player, whatever it is, and then you say, well, I want to get into beat making or songwriting. It's not something I've ever done, but I really want to get into it. Well, is that what makes you different, though? No, probably what makes you different is how great you are at guitar. I mean, if you're a guitar master, You don't need to go back to school to learn how to write songs. And when I say go back to school, I mean like change everything, quit playing guitar, quit being a guitar master in order to learn how to write songs, unless that's just your passion. I think more people need to be focused on their passion, and whatever that passion is. What is your passion? Is it what does make you unique? What is the thing that you can do that most people can't do, and that you can do on another level from other people? I kind of have a couple of superpowers. One of those powers, besides, playing keyboards and knowing all that kind of stuff, and been doing that since, for 50 years, is to know how to produce. And inside of producing means I know how to work with a person and help them draw out the best of them. I know how to organize all of that and present it to who it needs to be presented to, which makes me a great kind of middleman and producer for people who are trying to get to sync, but they just don't have the qualities that I'm going to talk about today, and the intangibles even that we'll talk about in a minute. But because what makes them different is they're a great cellist. And I preach all the time, be a cellist. You play hammered dulcimer, be a hammered dulcimer player. I've got lots of things you can play hammered dulcimer on, and we can even do hammered dulcimer albums. If you're a guitar player, let's lean in guitar stuff. If you also play banjo, or you play dobro, or you play all these things, those are talents that a very, very small percentage of people in the world have. They may have the instrument, but can they play it? And they may not even try to play it. They may just collect instruments. So you have to go after what makes you unique, and whether that's an instrument or an ability. I also think something that can make you unique inside of sync, if you're trying to figure out how to get into sync licensing, is doing hybrid music. If you're a person who can do, let's continue with the cello. You can do cello, but what if, like we're doing now, we do cello and we mix that with beats? Or what if we do hammered dulcimer, but we mix that with tension? What if we do Celtic harp, but we mix that with something else? That kind of hybrid type of ability is really something that sync libraries love to hear. They love to hear something different. They want to hear something that hasn't been done before. But here's the problem with the unique instrument, the unique abilities, the unique hybrid abilities. It's got to be also usable. It's got to be usable in a TV show. Now, this can come in handy when you are doing some unique dobro and tension type stuff, and it's a show, a reality show or a cop show or something set in Louisiana, New Mexico, or Texas, where they need something kind of tension-y, kind of dark, but they also need it to be real instruments, real masters of their instrument. And they need, we did a hybrid kind of tension Western cinematic album, which was so fun, and it's amazing sounding, with one of my partners, Eli. And that got signed, and I'm just excited to see what kind of placements that gets. And I think it's just so much fun. But it was hybrid music, but I think it was also very usable. And so the library could look at that and go, yes, this is different, but it's also usable. There's also really different and not usable. But as I've heard and been told by friends of mine in the industry, everything is syncable sometime at some point. But you want to try to be as syncable as possible with that. Jason Fletcher says, I'm on Disco per your recommendation. Should I master those tracks for sending to libraries for consideration? Of course. Mastering is a separate process from mixing, but most of us these days are pretty much mastering as we mix, and then we are putting some final mastering things on before we send it out and put it on Disco. So for instance, the way I do it is usually as I've gone along, as I mix each one, I'm kind of mastering it too. So, you want to make sure that from song to song, there's not a great difference of volume or sonic difference. But I think if you're working on your DAW, you know your speakers, you know your sound, you should be able to get consistently similar sounding mixes with, these days it's pretty easy. Logic has its own mastering program built in. That alone would help you get things quote unquote mastered. It's not the same as sending it to a mastering engineer like I did for many years and miss working with my mastering engineer. But as I am creating 2 albums a week, there's no way I could afford to do that. So I've had to figure out how to do that myself. Ozone is what I use to put on the is kind of my overall mastering thing. But I do some mastering stuff before that with Waves and with I have a Waves plugin I use, and then I do a little bit of God Particle, and then I do Ozone, and that does the trick. There's just not much more you need than that, and I haven't found any libraries that are like, oh well, this isn't mastered enough. Never heard that. All right, so let's move on here, back to the show, and to the next thing, the third of 5 things that I have, and that is quality is job 1. If you can't do it, get help. And you might be saying, well, that sounds like a big duh, but you'd be surprised on how hard it is for some people to achieve the quality that libraries would want. And this is before mastering. This is just talking about, can you record well? Can you mix it well? And so first of all, are you making quality music? Now, again, this isn't a video about how to make quality music, but and I have friends, and sometimes I do videos on this. Dave Croft and Stevie B and all these guys do great things on how to create certain genres of instrumental or produced music. One day I will do a full video on how I produce a song with vocals that is for sync from start to finish. But making great music is the very first thing. It has to be high quality. There's no room. There is no way to compete if you don't have a quality level, the quality level that libraries want. Everybody can get that. It's a zero-sum game. Everybody has a DAW. Everybody can make music. And all the samples sound pretty great by themselves. The aforementioned Logic easy drums, easy bass, easy piano, you put all those up together, sounds pretty good. Heck, even AI sounds pretty good. Not really good, but kind of good. But you can easily make quality music just by almost not doing anything. But making a real quality music piece that works, that's got a fast intro and gets into the A section very quickly, and it's got a good melody, and or it sets the mood because it's a tension thing or because it's a dramedy thing, and then it has melody, and then it has a nice B section that it goes to just to get you off of that loop that you've been doing probably, and then it comes back to the A, and then you do a 2 minute or so thing, and it's quality, and it grows, and it matures, and it has dimension because you've used real instruments and you've thought out the arrangement and all that kind of stuff. That is not something everybody can do. And maybe this is a place where you are. Maybe you're at a place where you feel like you can make some songs, but you're just not sure how to get the quality. And you know what? Here's the funny part. This used to not be everybody's job. Everybody's job in the music industry was not to create quality music. The guitar player who came to the studio to record his part, his job was not to create a beautiful song. Someone had already written the song. A songwriter. You know, I heard a great song this past week, that I totally forgot about. It's called Making Love by Roberta Flack. But it's not actually, she sang it, but it was written by Burt Bacharach and Carol Bayer Sager, which was a great team of writers in the 70s. And this song was in the 80s. But it's just such a great melody. And you know what their job was? To write the song. Burt Bacharach and Carol Bayer Sager. They wrote the song. They didn't produce it. Well, they may have produced it. Or they may have been part of producing it. But they didn't play the instruments. They didn't load up the DAW and make all the stuff. No, they brought a producer in who produced it. Someone like me who is skilled at finding the right people for the right job, putting it together, putting the studio time together. Back in the day, they didn't have DAWs. All they had was recording studios where you could go in and record. They brought all the musicians in. Each of those musicians, their job wasn't the overall quality of the thing. The singer's job wasn't the overall quality of the thing. The singer's job was their quality that they were making, that they were singing. The drummer's job, the bass player's job, none of them were in charge of the quality of the song. None of them were going to be mastering an ozone later on. All of them came in to do their job. But now, everyone watching right now, our job is complete quality over every instrument, over every note, over all the writing, over all the production, and over the mastering. And we're not even going to talk about the delivery or finding libraries and delivering to them. This is why sync is so really difficult, I think, for many people, is that it's hard to do all of those things and do all of them super high quality. But guess what? That's what the libraries are expecting from you. They're expecting you to be the songwriter, the arranger, the producer, the musicians, the mixing engineer, the mastering engineer, and then on top of that, find the right libraries, get in the right libraries, just continue to knock on doors and open up new relationships and find new players. They're expecting all of that from one person. Or I shouldn't say they are. Quality is expected. And now all of that is pretty much on your shoulders, on my shoulders, if I'm creating something myself. Now that's okay for me because I have been a producer for 25 years or 30 years. So I'm used to doing all that. And I'm used to playing keys and I'm used to writing the songs. And so I'm used to hiring all the players. So it's easy for me, but it may not be easy for you. And if you can't do it, you need to get help. And you need to look into our Positive Spin Partners program, or you need to find another program that you feel comfortable in, that you can get help making stuff, or you need to hire a producer, which also I am. But that's probably what you need, because not only do you have to make great music and write it and arrange it, and then you have to make it with your DAW, and you have to play all the instruments and get all the instruments played, and you have to mix and then you have to mix and master it. You're responsible not just for playing it, but who's going to mix it? Who's going to master it, and how's it going to get finished? Now, I know all of this stuff seems like, oh, I do that already, because I am, I've been in sync for a while, so I'm good. I know how to put all this together. But do you? Do you really? Is quality something that you can do easily? Sean says, yes, I do make quality music and I'm really good at working with others, but for some reason, I feel overwhelmed with the libraries. Eugene says, mixing and mastering is my biggest hurdle. Yeah. There's going to be a hurdle somewhere in your attempt to get to sync. Mine probably was I had too high a quality bar coming out of Nashville, because all my clients that are now my partners, they were the ones paying for the songs and paying for the players and all that kind of stuff, and the great mix engineers and all that kind of stuff. So I had mixing and mastering and players and songs, and all that stuff was taken care of. So I guess my overwhelm when I started this was also, how do I get in touch with libraries? But guess what, Sean? It still is. Yesterday, I took mad stabs on LinkedIn to library owners that I had heard about. And I took some mad stabs at some people who I wanted to interview for this channel. There's no secret to it. I know we're talking about the secrets of sync today, but there's really no secret to getting in sync other than just doing. That's why I said the word do at the beginning. And I understand, Sean, that the issue is with the libraries, how to get to them. Or if it's not libraries, it's the specific person you want to talk to. I'm going to be talking to a music supervisor here in the next week or two, and we're going to have an interview about how does a music supervisor want to get music. And every one of those is going to be different. And to me, that's a much more of a hard thing than libraries. Libraries are looking for lots of music because they need lots of music, because people keep coming back to them and say, we already used your music. I heard a great podcast yesterday. Listen to my friend Dave Croft's podcast yesterday, where he interviewed a library owner, and he talks about just the never-ending need for music. Let's say you can make quality music. I'm really good at it. And working with others, all got that covered. Job one is covered, quality. But the next one is the one that we're going to have problems with. and mixing and mastering might be something. So all of those, all of you, Sean, Eugene, if you want to contact me and see how we can work together, let me know. All right, let's talk about the next piece here. And we're almost done. This is the fourth thing I want to talk about, and that is quantity is job 2. If quality is job 1, quantity is job 2. You can't have a quantity of bad music. It's not going to help you. And you can't have just one song of quality. That's not going to help you. Not to get where I'm talking about in sync, where you're getting to a place where you're making 4 and 5 figures a quarter from sync. And this part right here, quantity, is how you're going to get to 4 and 5 figures per quarter. And anybody who's in this industry or is making that kind of money from sync licensing is going to tell you they couldn't do it with 100 songs. If they couldn't support their family with maybe 500 songs, maybe 1,000 songs. Now, we have seen numbers from Wolfgang and others who are making low 5 figures and said so on this program last quarter. Now, you're making 5 figures, and he has about 900 songs out in sync libraries. So that's a lot, though. 900 songs. Anybody in here have 900 songs in libraries right now? You might have them ready to go. And I don't want to hear, oh, I've got 900 songs on my hard drive. Listen, if they're not working, they're not helpful. If they're demos and they're scraps and they're pieces of songs and all that stuff, they're technically songs. You can write them down and say, I've written 900 songs. You can say that. But I'm talking about 900 finished songs that are in libraries. That's what Wolfgang has. That's why Wolfgang is making a lot of money per quarter. That's a pretty quick climb up to 30 grand or whatever he said he made in a quarter with 800 to 900 songs. But it's not if they're in the right places, if they're in the right libraries and they're getting the right amount of play, which apparently they are. So it's quantity. You've got to make a lot. And I would bet you that a lot of you watching right now, and if you're in this and if you struggle with quantity, you can do quality, but can you pump out an album, or let's just say a song a day? Can you make a song a day? The people who I know who are making mega money in this, more money than I should tell you right now, per quarter, probably what you make in a year, they're making in a quarter. But that's because they've been working on they've been finishing a song a day, start and finished a song in a day for 10 years. Have you been doing that? I am getting to the place right now where we're working on about 2 albums a week, trying to turn them around. That's gonna be somewhere close to 1,000 songs by end of next year. Getting over that 1,000 songs mark in libraries that are doing something with them. Now, remember, quantity is no good if they're sitting on a hard drive, but they're also no good if they're sitting on a hard drive of a library that doesn't have anybody syncing anything, or they're not doing anything actively to get people to use them. So that's a big secret of sync too, is finding the right libraries. We'll talk a little bit about that in the next one. But quantity, I think quantity is the biggest leap. After you can get to the quantity level, that's where you can see real money from sync coming in. And here's a way to get quantity going. If you're like, okay, Eric, I want quantity. Tell me how to get more quantity out. Well, first of all, you've got to think in terms, and as far as I'm concerned, I know Wolfgang thinks like this, I do too. You've got to think in terms of albums and not songs. I talked about this a few weeks back. You can see a whole video. I just did a special short video on albums, not songs. You can go back and find that on the channel. But I think you've got to think that way, because when you think in terms of albums, you automatically write more, you automatically finish more. If you're trying to finish an album, you give yourself a time. For me, it's like, okay, everybody. Now, I have a partners program, so there's songs coming from lots of people that I co-write and co-work on. And so I get all those in and I say, okay, this week We're going to be working, like we have a bit of a brief for next week for a folk tension album where we are working on a tension album that uses all real instruments, or at least all real sounding instruments. No synths, no beats, nothing like that. Beats, if they are beats, they are organic beats. So we're working on an album like that, and it's probably going to be due by the end of next week. And so I've got people sending me stuff. I'm going to be working on that stuff. But the reason that's happening so quickly is because we said we have a 10-song album we need 10 songs for, or 12 songs for. Again, this is part of being part of a group of people like my partners program, where I can just put out a brief to everybody and say, hey, what do you got for this? Because we got to deliver something next week. So what we will do is, even though we have albums going on, Wolfgang and I have an album going on, I just pitched the first 3 songs yesterday, and we'll see what happens with that. I pitched another album yesterday of Celtic songs, but I may have to pause that to get this album done because there's someone who wants that album next week. So by thinking in terms of an album of this brief, let's say, they wanted an album of this. And because I have resources, going back to what makes me stand out is partners and playing with others. So I'm getting all of these songs in so that I can supply these songs that's for a specific television show, which ups the possibility of being used on TV because it's for a specific show. It's not just to put in a library and hope somebody fishes and finds it. And so we're getting that album out. But I think albums helps you get 10 songs out at a time, 12 songs done at a time. And that's what eventually propels you to dozens of songs. How many people in here have dozens of songs available to put into sync libraries, finished quality songs? How many people have hundreds of songs ready or are on your way or already have put hundreds of songs in? And then the big word, which is where Wolfgang is headed. It's where I am headed. It's where most of my partners are headed, and that is to the thousands of songs. How can we all be partners in thousands of songs? That's the only way you're going to see an income from this. I'm being very careful and really separating who I'm sending music to. Am I sending music to this library, and will something happen with it because they are a big library? Are they a BMG? Are they a Warner Chappell library? Are they tied to APM or to Universal? Are they a bigger library, or are they a specific library doing a specific shows? And I know they're going to be used in shows. So quantity is not only job 1 for you or job 2 for you. It's really job 2 for the libraries. First, they got to have quality stuff come in, but then they've got to have a lot of it come in because they need more stuff. And so we have to continue to give them more stuff. All right, let me move on to my last thing that I want to talk about here, and that is intangibles, or what I can't teach you. You've already probably figured that out by listening to me talk through this whole thing. But you probably figured out by now what I can't teach you is the passion and the relentless push. When I use the word thousands of songs, probably many of you said, thousands of songs? What in the world? Are you kidding me? I could barely write 1 or 10. You want me to write thousands? Hey, listen, that's kind of the game. And what I can't teach you is a daily relentless pursuit like I have. I don't know how to teach that to you. Now, some of you have it. You're in this, you're watching this video stream right now. There are 19 people here watching, or so it tells me. And so that is 19 people who are taking time out to try to get answers, to try to get to the next level. You want to know what the secrets are to sync licensing. Can it be an income for you? Well, it can, but just like anything, it doesn't matter what it is. Basketball players play basketball every day. They want to be the best. I played yesterday. I played for about an hour and a half with a bunch of people much younger than me at LA Fitness, and I play about a couple times a week. And, you know, there are some of those people who really are fixated on being good basketball players. They really want to be good. One of the players was actually a girl who plays at her high school or college, and she was very good. And occasionally you run into those people. And then you run into the guys who just play basketball because they got nothing else to do. There's a whole difference between the person going and playing on a basketball team at their high school or their college and hopefully doing something with it professionally. And then there's the person who is just the person who wants to show off and be good. And then there's the people who just kind of hang out on the wing and hope for the random throw to them to shoot a three-pointer because they're going to go back to their job, and basketball is just a thing they kind of do. This is the same thing. I can't teach you to want music so badly you want it more than anybody else, that you go after it more than anybody else. Can't teach you that. It's a daily, relentless pursuit. I'll let you have the weekends off, but Monday through Friday, and you know with the times that you're available to do music, you need to be in a relentless pursuit of this, a relentless pursuit of quality, a relentless pursuit of quantity of songs that you create, a relentless pursuit of how to stand out, being a great musician on your instrument, relentlessly finding players and friends and new people to speak into the music with you, new partners like me or like all the people that are in our partners program. All of that has to be your daily pursuit. If you want to have success, if you want to get into sync, and this really goes for anything, not just sync and not just music, but anything. But we're talking about sync licensing. How do you get there? The people who get there hustle their behinds off every day. They sit down, they put their hard hat on, and they work on their craft. What I'll be doing as soon as we are done here, I'll be working on my craft. I'll be either talking to someone about music, playing music, working on someone else's music that I'm adding to, pitching that music out. I'll be doing something like that until 6 o'clock tonight. Will you be doing that? And that is what I do every day. The second thing I can't teach you is professionalism, how to be professional and how to contact libraries, how to write them good emails, how to capitalize the first letter of your sentences and use good punctuation. I can't teach you all of that. I can't teach you how to write short emails that don't overload who you're sending it to. So they have to read through all this stuff that makes no difference when they really just need to hear your music and see if you're going to be right for their library. I can't teach you how to be responsive to emails and without being over responsive. You know, email is not texting, people, by the way. Just want to let you know that. If I write you an email, we don't need to get into a conversation over email for the next 15 minutes. You write an email when you want to deliver something to someone and then wait. Texting is if you want it now, which is why I don't text people very often. Don't text me. But responsiveness, responsible responsiveness, I would say, making sure that you are responding to people with professional reports. So these are some, and I could go on with tons of intangibles, how to speak to people, how to approach people, all that kind of stuff. I have other videos on how to get in touch with libraries, and you can look at my course, and that really completely describes how I got in sync and how you can too. And there's actually even an email template that I have in there for you to use and send to libraries. And so you can start that course for free if you want to. Check it out. It's called Getting in Sync, and it's a course and an ebook that you can have. And it's my entire blueprint for how I got into sync and how you can do it too. Sean says, okay, I will work on an album this week. 7 tracks, challenge accepted. No, an album is 10 tracks, Sean. Good try. Now, I have sent in 7 tracks before, or 9 tracks or whatever, but here's what you do, Sean. You don't necessarily have to do 7 tracks that are full, and you can start 7 songs. Get a good A and B section going to 7 songs. And what that then gives you is a template to finish the album out. You've started each song. They've got titles. They're not just called song 1, song 2, song 3. They've got titles. Use your imagination. Come up with a name for your song. Don't just send me a song that says song 1, rock, song 2, rock, song 3. Make a name. Just use freaking AI. It'll help you come up with a name for your album. Say, I need names. Just ask AI. I need names for a hip hop, album with real guitar. It'll give you names. If you can't use your own imagination to come up with names, come up with a name. So, 7 songs is an EP. That's not wrong. 7 songs is more EP land than album land. And libraries, I did pitch 3 songs to some libraries yesterday to get a sense here's where we're going with this album. Do you like that? If so, they expect a 10-song record or a 12-song record, depending on the library. All right, good. Glad you got it. Have a good weekend yourself. Well, that's a great word right now. I'm just going to say have a great weekend with everybody. Thanks so much for being here with me through this thing. Make sure that you go to makemusicincome.com/free. I've got all sorts of ways to make music income. I've got a whole ebook that's free that just talks about 50 ways to make music income if you want to do that. But I'd really like you to take a look, and this is another free thing you can start, and that is my Getting in Sync course and ebook. It starts for free. I think you get the first 3 modules for free, and you can see what the course is about. I explain what I'm going to talk about. I start talking about my story. You can get it for free, and if you're ever trying to figure out how someone got into sync and how you could too, well, this is how I did it. If you've already started and you're just not having luck, well, maybe this will help you. Sean Simmons says, it was great. Thank you. Well, you are welcome. And remember, if you are someone who is considering or needing a partner, can't get into those libraries, don't want to even think about trying to get into libraries, that's where you're stopping at. That's all we do is put songs in libraries. Every week, we are putting songs in libraries. We've got 250 plus songs this year that we've put into libraries, and we expect at least another 100 more, maybe more. I'd love to get between 300 and 400 songs for this first year of the Partners Program. The next year, watch out. I want to get 1,000 songs in. So be part of this with us. Send me an email. You can find all the information right here. There's videos that talk about it. I talk about it on this page. And you can go to positivespinsongs.com and see the kind of music we make. All right, everybody, that's all I got for you. Thanks so much for being here and sticking with me through this thing. And have fun making the music that you love to make and then making albums. Make music income. Let's do it. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.